Okay, I think we are. Are we on? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think so. Is it working? My
Yeah.
internet was tripping for a second.
How was
Is
it?
it working right now? Yeah, is it okay?
Yeah, we are live. What's up, y'all? My name is Daniel. This is Weddle right here. Yeah, there he goes. There he goes. There's Weddle right there. He is the most popular fighter there is on the Streetbeefs Westcoast, alongside 619. So, but it's only me and Weddle right now. 619 said that he wanted to come on, but you know how 619 is.
Yeah, I know
When he
exactly how
says he wants to come
619
on, sometimes he won't be on until like an hour later, until the show's almost done. Then he wants to hop on and take credit that he hosted the show.
bro.
So,
Like last night, he was like, my man, I'm gonna be in the studio 7:30. Let's get there 15 minutes early. Let's go over the whole show. I got you. 8:05. He's like, give me 20 minutes.
exactly.
Yep, that's very, very,
And
very him.
yeah, actually, absolutely. And so for those who are in the YouTube chat, please, if you can share this on the Facebook groups, make sure that this goes around, because this is a really important business right here. So normally we have Wet on the Mexican.
Yeah.
We do a number of things, like we bring on guests to talk about their fights. Sometimes there's some laughter, there's some drinking, there's a bunch of stuff that happens on that show that won't necessarily happen on this show, right? I think this show is certainly a little bit more serious, because there's a number of things that have occurred that we've been asked to kind of review. And so when we talk about the official review board, I know a number of y'all have seen the thumbnail, so let me actually bring it up. Can you talk about, like, how did we get to this place where now we are the official review board?
So, first of all, let's say it is no surprise that occasionally there's a decision that a lot of people might not necessarily agree with. A fight decision. Somebody wins, somebody loses, there's a draw, whatever. And so we were asked by Tank and Bushido Zed to be the review board to say, okay, we're going to break down the punch stats of the fights. We're going to judge them, and then we're going to, if need be, reverse any decision that was made. Because, like, you guys do have to understand it, and always remember this stepping into the cage. Like, none of us are professionals. You're not a professional fighter. The refs are not professional. The judges are not professional. This is not what we do. This is what we see, and we research on how to do it, but this is not what we do for a living. So there's going to be mistakes, with no questions asked. There's going to be mistakes. And
go
we're
ahead.
asked to clear some of those up.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And absolutely. I think to that point, right, is that this is a flawed system, but we are certainly trying our best to consider the entirety of the fight, right? And so that means, like, doing punch stats. That also means considering the environment. Like, how are these decisions being made, right? In what context? Because we're not there. We're actually not ringside. And so we don't know what the judges saw, but we certainly looking at through video. We're certainly looking at, okay, well, how are the crowd responding? How are the fighters responding to each other's hits? And so when we get the feedback, say, hey, I actually disagree with this decision, I would like for these things to be reviewed. So we're examining the conditions in which the decisions are made, but also examining the evidence of the person that is objecting to these decisions. Yeah. And we're looking to see if the evidence overwhelmingly eclipsed the original decision. And I think it must be clear that the evidence itself is substantial. I think that's the most important part, right? Because anyone can say, I didn't agree with my decision, but is the evidence that you present, or the evidence that we're receiving when we review the video, is it substantial enough to change the decision, right? And then lastly, to your point is, I don't know, but go ahead before I even conclude that point.
Well, mine's probably going to be a final statement, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what I think you said earlier, was like, don't take it personal, right? And here's the thing that you all have to consider. We have relationships with all the fighters, a lot of the fighters. And so even when we are objectively watching these things, we are trying not to take even our own relationships into account. So we're trying to be, we're trying to, one, monitor our own bias, but also be as objective as we can. And so we're trying not to take this personal. And so we ask you all not to take it personal whatever we say. So please don't unsubscribe to our channel. Don't unsubscribe to Streetbeefs Westcoast channel if you disagree with what we have to say.
Yeah, we like so. First of all, before I even get into the process of what we're doing, because I definitely want to speak on that so everybody knows. I want to talk about the process on how you get your fight reviewed. It is not a posting in the group saying this is bullshit, you guys fucked up, everybody's stupid, the judges are dumb. That is not what you do. You message admins. Any admin, if they have an admin badge above their name, you can message them. Myself, Daniel, Tank, Alex, any of the admins, message them and say, hey, I don't agree with the decision. Can we get an official review? And the first thing we'll do is several people watch the fight and say, hey, should this be under review? Or is there a very clear winner and somebody's just, feelings are hurt because this is a passionate sport. This is a very emotional sport. And once it's decided that, hey, we probably should look into this and do an official punch count and a review and everything, then it comes Daniel, myself, and 619, and we jump in there. We do a punch count. We break everything down. So by doing a punch count, I will watch the fight every single round. Yep. I watch at least three times. So the first time I watch it just to be watching it, okay, and I watch that in regular speed. I watch it again in slow motion, but I watch it with an eye on one specific fighter and his movements, what he's doing to the other fighter. And then I do it a second time with my eye watching the other fighter and what they're doing to fighter A. And then I watch it one more time, a lot of times. Not necessarily all the time, but a lot of times I watch it one more time in complete slow motion at about half speed. Because there's a lot of things you pick up. And I used to just do one pass and try to calculate it that way. But I realized I was missing a couple things. Like when I was breaking down Free Smoke and Crazy Legs. And I don't know how I missed that head kick, but I missed it. So we try to do everything we can to alleviate any mistakes on our part because this is the final decision. If it comes to a review board and Tank and Alex give it to us, this is the decision that will stand. So we do everything we can to make it as accurate as possible and as objectionable as possible.
Yeah, and I'm curious for yourself, like when you're reviewing the tape, when you're looking back at these fights, what are the top three things that you are, like the criteria that you're using to judge whether or not a fight needs to be overturned?
So the first thing I look at is obviously who won. Who do they say won? Okay. And then I start paying attention to how much damage he actually did to his opponent. And then I take a look at how much damage his opponent did to him. And then we take into account, aggression. Who's still moving? Did somebody get tired and run away at any point in time? Because that counts against you. It's a fight. You should not, if you get tired, just, that's a wrap if that's what it is. But you can't turn around and run, specifically. That we deduct some points for that for sure. But damage first and foremost, aggression, who's making the other one fight their fight. I also try to pay attention to that. Like if I have somebody that's a counter puncher, and he's forcing somebody to, two counterpunchers, and somebody's forcing the other one to move in a certain way, we take that into consideration. So it's about who's controlling as many aspects of that fight as possible.
Yeah, I do a very similar thing. Certainly one of the first criteria I look at, besides just knowing who the winner was, but it's like the impact of each individual strike. Does it change the course of the fight? How does it affect the opponent? And so to me, it's looking at the impact. Secondly is aggression. So to me, is who is pushing the fight. And just because you're aggressive doesn't mean that it has any kind of impact in the fight. And so I also I try to differentiate between aggression and calculated pressure. And so that's the way when I think of aggression, I'm thinking about calculated pressure. So who's dictating the pace of the fight, as you said, Weddle, but also who's forcing the opponent to fight at a higher pace than they're comfortable at. And, when I think about a fighter who does that, I think about 619 or DTP, who force their fighters, who force their opponents to fight at their pace, to fight. And so I take a look at that. And then third, I think is defense, right? How is someone defending themselves? Are they just kind of running away? Or are they ducking? Or they just have their guard up high? Are they countering? Are they evading? Are they pairing deflecting strikes? And so that's the kind of the metrics that I use when I'm reviewing a fight, and I'm tallying the, I guess, who should win the fight on those kind of 3 variables.
Correct. And I think combined, that definitely makes it a lot easier for us to pick a clear decision, whether it be, a winner or a draw. And let's go over that real quick. We can't. So if, let's say we have a fight and, fighter A gets chosen as the winner, the most we can do is make it a draw. We will never take a win from somebody and give it to the other person. That is not going to happen. So if you're watching this and you got deemed the winner of your fight, no, you are in no danger of getting that win taken away. That's not how Street Beefs works. Like, if you get in the ring, like, we're not professionals, we do this for fun. If you get in that cage and the judges say you won, then you won. Yeah. However, we do have to take into consideration that sometimes that person that won might not have done enough to where the other person deserves to lose, or the other person, the other fighter, did enough to where they didn't deserve to lose.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to differentiate between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. Good point. And so with that said, all right, so even before we continue with the program, one is, if you haven't subscribed to Heart in the Fight YouTube channel, or you haven't followed our Facebook or followed our Instagram. I mean, our Instagram is popping right now. Like, you should be following these things. Please do so right now, or do so when you have the moment. Trust me, every single like, every time you visit, that motivates us to create more content. So please do that. And then if you have a little bit of donations, you can always just kind of super chat this video, or we also, if you see down below somewhere, there you go. You see it over there? Mm-hmm. You see our PayPal. So just in case for the folks who have PayPal, you want to send little donations, please do so. I mean, everything that we receive in Heart in the Fight, what we try to do is push that back out into the community. So that means like purchasing trophies and stuff for the end of the year awards. That means also helping someone through travel expenses to get to an event, or even sometimes some fighters are just down on their luck. They just need $10, $20 to get some gas to go to work. And so we also, donate to those kind of individual causes to ensure that, at the end of this, like, fighters are looked after.
Yeah, absolutely. And go ahead. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, and I was just also say, it also goes to 619's fake chain. Just like,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so
donate $10 and you can buy him 40 of those. Yeah, you can get him 40 new chains for $10.
Right. All right. Yeah. So, what fight do you want to go to first?
We got him right here. It's first up on the list. Let's just run down the line right here. So we have, let's bring it back up real quick. So Punches and Earthling 7. That we've been asked to review that one. And again, so should we start out by saying what the decision was before we get into it?
Yes.
I think that makes it clear. So Punches and Earthling 7 was decreed a draw. And there are a few people who do not agree with that. And so we're going to, and we looked at that fight, and there was quite a few people who made a buzz about it. Free Smoke was one of them. As soon as it came out, he was telling all of us, "You got to watch this fight. You got to. It could go either way. Somebody take a look at this." And so we did it. That's one of the reasons why I got on the review board, and we decided to take a look at it. So
also at the end of the video, when they announced that it was a draw, you hear Punches. You see Punches actually say, "I got robbed." Right, you see it. You don't really hear it, but you see his mouth, like he's mouthing it that I got robbed, and then he says Stockton right after, which is great. I love that. But all right, and so it's clear that folks, even in our RG when we posted, like here's the recap of the fight, like people kept saying, Punches was robbed, Punches was robbed. For those who are saying that, like, make sure you do it in a discreet fashion, because after they'll say Stockton or in their hashtag or in their like name, it says 209. So it's like, come on, brother, you're probably his brother, or you're probably his cousin or friend or family member. And so I get it. And so anyways, it came to us, and so we reviewed the fight. And so Weddle actually did the punch stats on that. And so please take it away. Like, how did you come up with the punch stats?
Okay, so again, the first thing I do is I run through it 3 times or so with in slow motion. I want to be able to see every movement, every shot. And first and foremost, we're looking at damage. So the way you decree damage in a boxing match is what punches are landing and what punches are landing cleanly. Okay, so if a punch is thrown and somebody has their guard up and it hits their guard, that doesn't count. It may count in the fight to some people. Some people look at that and they go, oh, that punch landed, but it doesn't count. We've all had fights. You know what it's like to take a punch on your guard. It rarely ever does any true damage to you or diminishes your faculties as far as the boxing match goes. So that being said, I'm going to throw these up here and we're going to break them down real quick on why they look the way they do.
Yep.
So now remember, so if you look at, let's just take Earthling 7 for an example right here. Earthling 7, first round, jabs across the board, 2 of 28. So he was 7% accurate on those jabs. And what that means is 2 of his jabs landed cleanly on punches and were not deflected. They weren't blocked, they weren't deflective. However, he threw 28, which means 26 of them were either deflected or missed entirely. And what I will let everybody keep in mind, punches was very, very hard to punch. He really was. He had phenomenal head movement. So you're looking at some stats of somebody, of a fighter like E7, who's a legitimate technician in there. He's very, very good. And it was very hard for him to hit punches. And the stats show that. He was very hard to hit him. So he threw 28 jabs, and he threw 17 power shots. Now, let me define a power shot. A power shot is literally anything that's not a jab. Even if it's even if it's thrown a little weakly, maybe they threw a check hook that's not very strong, they don't pivot, there's no power behind it, it's still considered a power punch. And the reason why we do this is it took me an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, to watch all of this in slow motion and keep track of that. So what we did is we decided these are the metrics with which we want to judge because we think these are the best metrics. Damage first, because that's what's going to happen when you punch people cleanly. So he landed 6 of 17 in the power punches, and that made his accuracy 35% for that. He had 1 significant strike. And I will define significant strike because they play a large role in every fight we're going to talk about. A significant strike is anybody who gets hit, okay? So let's say E7 throws a jab at punches and stops punches in his tracks with the jab. Even if it's not a hard jab, that's a significant strike because it changed the course of the fight in that moment. That's what we consider significant. So if you can have a significant jab or a significant power shot, it doesn't have to be a knockout punch to be significant. It just needs to be evident that it changed, at least momentarily, the course of that fight. And it's got to land cleanly. It's got to be a cleanly landed punch. Does that make sense? Dan, you got anything to add?
No, I'm just curious. Do you want to talk about, like, when you watch round 1, just outside the statistics alone, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you think won that round?
Let me refresh my memory again. I watched all these fights several times.
I mean, I can go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
Yeah, you go first.
So here's the thing, right? Originally, when I first saw the video, I wasn't watching it to kind of judge it. I was just watching it, and I thought E7 took it. However, when reviewing it, and I probably reviewed it at least 10 times by now. So when reviewing it, I considered it a draw. And here's why. Originally, punches actually gets off early. You see that E7 puts on the pressure like he puts on the pressure for everyone. And you can see that he's trying to box. He's using his jab. Even if it's not landing, he's just kind of throwing it out there to gauge his distance. He's trying to close the distance. But you also see punches. A few times he kind of throws over the top with his right, forcing forcing E7 to back off a little bit. And then there was a moment, I want to say like a minute into the fight, where punches actually catches him a few times. And then to me, that's when it changed the course of the fight, because you no longer saw E7 trying to like just jab. You see him actually being more aggressive. He wanted to actually close the gap. And so he started to do a little bit more wrestling with punches. And I think because he got hit with a few of those punches, they kind of came through. And punches was like hitting him with counter left hands that I think woke him up. And I think he had to make the pivot to change his game plan that, okay, I'm just going to have to, make this kind of an ugly fight. It was no longer going to be me trying to flex my jab, me trying to flex from the outside. And so after reviewing it, although I say it's a draw, I still have it in favor of E7, just because, again, I think the kind of the pivot in game plan, but also the way that he was able to make it dirty and make it ugly, even at the tail end of the fight. I think he kind of took away some of the momentum that punches had. How about yourself?
I really don't know. Like, I have to lean more towards the draw, just because it was he did have an overhand right that connected cleanly, very cleanly. That's E7, I believe. Yeah.
No, that's punches.
You're not.
That's punches.
Or is that punches?
That's punches.
Okay. Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, either one of them could make that statement, because if you look at the stats, like there was one significant punch landed here and one significant punch landed over here. Like that's not a lot in the sense of like who's getting punched and who's not. I had it as a draw. And to be honest with you, I didn't think anybody cleanly took any of the rounds like the whole time, to where I could go, that person owned that round. For me, breaking it down, I see they're just too close to even give a round to anybody for my judgment purposes.
Yeah, and I think to me, that's why I kind of lean on to the kind of three things that I use. I kind of prioritize when I'm judging fights is one, impact of the strike, aggression, and then defense. And so it was clear to me like aggression was a big thing for E7 throughout the entire fight. And you certainly see that punches actually adapts to it and becomes more aggressive later in the fight. But early on, you see that E7 is creating the tension, right? He's being more aggressive. Yeah. He's pushing them against the gate. I mean, we can talk about what the the push in and kind of hitting after the referee kind of separates them. I think that's what made it even more uglier, the fight, and harder to call. But certainly, I just think when I look at that round one, the thing that stands out to me is the aggression that E7 applies once he starts getting hit by punches. When punches starts to land, E7 changes up the game plan, and then that's like the impression I leave is, okay, E7 is really aggressive in the first round. And so that's why go ahead.
Sorry, E7 got very emotional in that first round. Very emotional. He looked emotional before the fight. Punches looked like he was just happy to be there, and he was in a fight, but happy to be there. E7 looked very emotional before the fight, and then after he took those first couple shots, it was blatantly obvious with some of the antics that he was doing that he really took offense to being punched in the face during a fight.
No, it's certainly, you know what it is? I don't know if this might be a respect factor. I don't know if E7 saw punches as a credible threat. And so you can... I mean...
Yeah, I can't really blame him. You know what I mean? Punches came off a viral knockout and then one win before that, to where, to be honest with you, he didn't look amazing. He just looked pretty good. You know what I mean? So, understandable. Like, when I first heard Punches was fighting E7, I was like, that's not necessarily a great matchup. Punches hasn't really proven himself. He's got a massively viral knockout. But he went in there and proved that he belonged to be there, though, without a doubt.
Yeah, and Punches, brings this up. If you're hugging, that means you don't want to fight. E7 wasn't himself. It's not wrestling. I agree with you. I agree that I don't want to say that I agree with you that if he's hugging, he doesn't want to fight. I think he wants to fight. It's just I think you forced him into that kind of game plan. Because again, it's clear that you hit hard, right? It's clear, right, from the first two
And
fights
accurately.
that you had. Yeah, exactly. And so I think E7, I think like most of us, like how hard his punches actually hit, and I think he found out for himself. Oh, he hits really hard,
He
and so I
cracks.
got to close this. Yeah, I got to close his distance, and so I got to make this ugly. I got to wrestle with him, and so as a result, it made it difficult for anyone to really judge this fight, because it was just like you had to really take into account kind of the dirty tactics, the dirty boxing that was going on. I remember one of the rounds, like Punches had him, like he gripped him by his like shirt, and then was like throwing uppercuts to the body like 3 or 4 times. But if you're not looking for that, like it's hard, like that's easier to miss.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you have to take into account, okay, let's look just by the numbers. If you look at just the numbers, I mean, Punch's accuracy in that was 41% in that first round, and E7's was 18%. But if you just look at that, you're like, well, E7 must have just been flailing, but he wasn't. Punches is just hard to hit. You know what I mean? And he was, you take all the other things that you said into account, where he was getting physical and he was trying to force Punches into fighting his fight. You have to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Not looking at the numbers. You have to give him credit for that. Because I say that because I want to dissuade people from looking at some of these numbers and just making a quick decision just based on the numbers. Because the numbers tell only part of the story.
Absolutely.
An important part, but just part.
Yeah. And also, I think when we account for aggression and we count the way that things are playing out, then you can understand why the judges there made that decision in the first place. When you account for the aggression, you account for all the little things that the numbers don't really tell. Mm-hmm. All right. So with that, we have 619 who cared to join us. I mean, just a little tad bit late. I mean, just a little bit. 26 minutes late. Are you there?
Hey, y'all. I just came on to give some Street Beefs trivia. You guys ready?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Tell us.
Here we go.
Can anybody in the comments tell me what was the first fight in Street Beefs Westcoast history to be reviewed with punch stats, punch count? Can you tell me? Let's fucking go.
I mean, can we?
All right. Well, let's see. Let's let it play out for a little bit. So
both of you had a big part in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he proposed that to the group, and so if you are here, please type it in. Type it in, and then we'll revisit it after we look at statistics for round 2. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll bring you back.
No,
I'm just messing.
That was good. Asshole.
Yeah. So yeah.
The funny thing is that I can tell Weddle was plotting.
Bro, yeah. The moment I see 619's face, I immediately want it to leave. So it's just immediate.
All right.
Sorry, it's the glasses. Because you ever know when old people get eye surgery?
Oh yeah, they got a
walk
big
outside. Yeah, they got a big old dark shades. And
Don't
just
be-
what he's
don't
got
be
on
hating
every time.
on my Gucci's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks like the Mexican
only-
flag, my man.
Yeah, it's only one C. Those are Gucci's. Gucci's. That's only one C in there. Anyways, so round 2. Let's throw round 2 up there. All right, now, initially looking at this, I want you guys to pay attention because Daniel did the same thing.
0 of 32?
Yes,
I did the same thing.
I understand. I watched that. I watched this second round probably 4 times, just focusing on E7 because I couldn't believe it when I first got the stats. I watched it again. I was like, okay, that's it. Then Daniel saw it and he's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And then I watched it again just to be 100% sure before we brought it on. In that first round, E7 lands no jabs of 32. Now again, we've all seen E7 fight, a bunch of times. He's a very, very solid fighter, and one of his most prominent weapons is his jab. But Punches, he moved out of the way so well that, I mean, E7 misses by mere inches several times. I mean, very, very close shots. But he did not land any jabs in that second round. He did land 11 of 19 power shots and 0 significant strikes for a total of, what's that say? Somebody pop that down. Thank you. Of 51 punches thrown. And then punches has 1 of 8 for jabs. So he didn't land a lot of jabs either. And he does throw jabs. He's not as many as Earthling 7 does, but he does use them quite often. And then 2 of 12 power shots. Okay? Now, if you're watching this and you see 51 punches and 20 punches thrown, it's very, very hard not to go with that 51 punches thrown and go, oh, that guy's dominating. Because there's something that is very, very hard to see and very hard to know when people are missing by millimeters when they're throwing their shots. It looks like they're being hit, but they're not. And it's got to be understandably tough for judges on the sidelines to pick a winner after seeing it live just one time. It's easy for us to see it because we get to break it down numerous times, but it's very hard. So looking at this, you can immediately think, okay, it looks like Earthling 7 probably, he threw almost over twice as many punches, almost 3 times as many punches as Punches did, which is ironic. I mean, his name's Punches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't. Nope. And honestly, Punch, thanks for bringing it up. Nobody really landed any power shots, man. Like, nobody really landed any power shots. Like, he landed 11, and you landed 2, but significant shots, there was nothing really, truly landed. So, what you guys also have to take into account is when I'm breaking this down, if you land a punch and it's clean, so you know how guys clinch and they throw a body shot real quick? If it's a clean shot and you hit somebody, it counts as you punching them. But the overall feel of the fight is still that you're not doing a whole bunch unless you land 40 of those to the same rib. You know what I mean? Or if it's really, really hard and your opponent visibly winces from it. But for the most part, when you're in there and you're in the pocket and you're just tapping ribs a little bit and just tapping shoulders and arms, it's not really doing much. So we can't count them as significant punches, but we do have to count them as punches. So he did land power shots according to our stats and how we break it down, but he didn't land anything significant. Nobody did in there.
Yeah. Is that right?
No, we're not. No, that's not.
No. I mean, that was reviewed and it came out to a draw, but I'm not complaining. but that is the wrong answer.
And it wasn't reviewed by us either. So
I don't have. It got put up for review, but we denied it because it's a clear ass whooping.
I reviewed it.
Very clear ass whooping.
I believe I took round 3 when I dropped them and they counted the slip. I mean,
no. 5-0 Venom Black's way. Let's just be.
We're not counting elbows, dig shots. We're not counting.
You gave 5 rounds to the East Coast.
At the end of the day, it was a draw. Next question.
Yep.
And so when I look at the second round, again, I think as you said, there isn't any real significant damage being made by any fighter. However, when I look at the impression, when you're done watching the round, who stands out to you? And again, when I look at that fight, it's hard to see the defense played a role or if any of the punches had any kind of significant impact. But what I do see is aggression being played out again. I do see E7 pushing the pace again. I see that even if I know I keep seeing that people are like, well, it's not a wrestling match. It's a boxing match. I get that. But that's the refs like that is facilitated by the ref. If the ref allows that to happen, like that's not our fault. All we're doing is reviewing what happens after the entire fight plays out. And so, yes, you can count that as wrestling. Yes, you can count that as like rabbit punches. But again, it's still played through. The ref did not intervene at any point during that. And so we got to count what we see. Count what we see. And so when I look at that, I don't see any real damage going back and forth. And so if I have to land somewhere, I have to go with E7 again, round 2, because this is the type of fight that he's dictating. And Punches is following through with that kind of pace of a fight.
And I disagree. And the
Which is
reason
fine.
why I disagree, yeah, I'm supposed to. I'm the co-host. The reason why I disagree is because I see it differently. I see a flustered E7 realizing that the guy he's hitting is 1,000 times harder to hit than what he thought. Like, when you see somebody throw 32 jabs and miss by just mere inches, and then another dozen, shots from numerous different angles. Like, when I say E7 is a technician, I mean that. Like, he hits you from as many different angles as he knows how to, and it's a ton of them. But he's not landing anything. Granted, Punches isn't landing anything either, but I don't see Punches getting flustered until probably the third, maybe fourth round. When the shirt comes off, you can tell Punches is a little flustered. Maybe for a half a second or so, but in the second round. But overall, I see him maintain his composure, and he just keeps doing what he does to make E7 miss. And in my opinion, he's making E7 play his game, because we all know Punches is a counterpuncher. He's not aggressive. None of his fights, he's been just balls to the wall aggressive. Except for, who did he fight? The Doctor?
Yeah.
I think. Did he fight the Doctor?
Mm-hmm. I think that was the first fight.
Yeah, it was his first fight. That one he was, but he still started as a counterpuncher. He ended it a little bit aggressive, but he started as a counterpuncher. So, I also try to take that. I try to take people's styles into account, because just watching him back up, he's still throwing shots, but backing up is part of his style. And I don't want to take somebody's style from him,
I know Punches. I know. But remember, at the beginning of this, again, we said you can't take any of what we say as personal, right?
No.
We
Wait,
have
is
relationships.
this Punches? I
that's
thought that
Punches.
I thought Gabe was Punches.
No, this is Punches. I know that because Punches and I actually have communicated. So we have actually been on chat together. And so, again, this is not personal at all, right? I have a relationship with Punches. I also have a relationship with E7. And so to me, I'm just judging by what I see. And again, Weddle and I and 619 actually did not even talk about like how the way we scored the fight. And so y'all are actually seeing this kind of play out right now. And the ways that and then also Samke, I know Samke said earlier, he said, I definitely intervene for both fighters. Yes, I agree with you. But again, what I'm saying is if there's rabbit punching is happening, if there's pushing against the gate, that is happening under your watch. And so we are counting that when we're watching, because you're not stopping that or not taking away points. And so because you're not taking away points, you're not stopping in the moment, we're looking at, okay, that's E7 being aggressive. That's E7 dictate, from my opinion, my vantage point, that's E7 being aggressive. I mean, because you're saying, right, it's interesting, Weddle, because what you're saying is, well, that is Punch's fight. What I'm saying is when you actually look at you're saying he's a technician. You're saying E7 is a technician, but when you actually look at the fight with Diesel, he does the exact same thing with Diesel, where he's like pushing Diesel against the gate. He's using his arms. He's putting his head down. He's ducking his head down. He's kind of putting him in a headlock. And so I see a pattern there. And so to me, when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's E7's. Like, he is dictating the fight when that's playing out. That's the way I see it.
Hey, I would like to say one thing. Samke, all the fighters, we're not criticizing you guys personally. This is a request to review a fight. That's all it is. Like, that is all it is. So, like, when we say you let that go, it is what it is. You know what I mean? In one of the rounds, I can't remember what round it was. I think it was 2. Immediately, you say break, and E7 punches right in the face during the break. Personally, I didn't count that on the punch stats. So if you wanted us to count that, I didn't count that, Dave. I didn't count that in the punch stats, because just like I didn't account Punches doing it, because Punches did it too. Not in the face, but he did punch directly after the break. But they ended up towards the end of the, Samke did clean it up. So I didn't count it. And it's not a criticism.
619, you got to go. I think they're after you, bro.
Oh man! But by the time the sirens come for me, I'll be in Cuba. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
Fuck you,
Weddle. Go ahead, Weddle. Sorry.
No, you good. That's all I have right there.
All right,
that
so
was
six
perfect.
one.
Hey, was this the dirtiest E7 we've seen yet? Because I mean, he was a dirty motherfucker. This fucking
He was. Yeah.
he was dirty.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That's
'Cause he was so
absolutely the
frustrated.
dirtiest.
He was so frustrated.
Like, because he's normally very, very composed. He's aggressive, and I don't want to say he's emotional, but he's passionate for sure. But I've
He's
never
passionate,
seen
but
him.
He's never been.
I've never
known
seen
as a
him
dirty,
blatantly.
cheap
No.
shot fighter. This really
No,
brought
and
it
he
out,
definitely
you know
took
what I mean?
some. He definitely took some.
But if you ask Diesel will tell you that E7 was doing that to him, right? And so that's Diesel's commentary after the fight, or reflection after the fight. He said he was being dirty the entire fight. And so again, when I see those things playing out, I see that is E7 trying to get in the head of punches. That's E7. Like, it reminds me of Bernard Hopkins when he fought. Bernard Hopkins or even Manny Holyfield, that will use their head intentionally to get in the head of their opponents, right? To keep. I mean, that's why Mike Tyson went crazy, because Evander Holyfield kept headbutting him,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Hey, because I know Mike watches this. Mike, bro, I didn't say that. That was all Daniel. I did not say that, bro. That was Daniel. I'm retired. Daniel still needs his first fight, though.
And they're gonna be against Mike Tyson. I mean, that would be me going to sleep immediately. So
That'd be a good story, though. I would pay to watch you get just leveled by Mike Tyson. Yeah, and I love you, but that'd be amazing.
So y'all ain't gonna back me up? I just can't. Oh, y'all just gonna watch me? Okay, I see that.
Yeah, you the one talking all that shit.
So that's what I'm saying, right? Is that E7? I think when I look at those dirty tactics, it's just seeing him trying to get in the head of punches. That's what I see.
Yeah.
What about you, 619? I know you were going to weigh on this, and so go ahead.
Yeah. I want to know, the people that were there, what was the initial feeling? Was it the right guy won, or because everybody says punches won that's seen the fight. I haven't seen anybody say E7 won. So everybody who's seen the fight online has said punches won. Now, the people that were there, what was the initial feeling? That's what I want to know, because it's completely different when you're there and when you
It
watch
is like
it
your
on
fight
YouTube.
with GA was the same way.
Is the exact
Very
same
very
thing.
similar feel. Yeah, because look like
fuck
if we
was
looked
that,
at the
dude?
video. Well,
That was what was it?
No, that was me.
Yeah,
That's that.
Daniel stay in LA, bro. Daniel stay in LA. Like,
See, me and Daniel hear a lot of sirens. You know what I mean? Oh,
Exactly.
Cactus Land, where don't get too many sirens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what else did?
Nah.
Yeah,
Nah,
that's,
We're in
a
these
whole lot of
fucking
sirens.
urban streets. You know what I mean?
that's hilarious. But go ahead, Wedo. I think, was it you 619 or Wedo were saying?
I don't know. But anyways, who did you have? He asked who you had for round two. What do you think of round two?
E7 round two. Even though he didn't do much.
Okay.
We gonna say yep.
Okay.
I'm with Free Smoke. I think Free Smoke, I got the same rounds as Free Smoke. I got 1, 3, and 5 for punches.
Okay.
But we'll see right now with the stats, because I haven't seen the stats, man. You guys did the stats. I normally do everything, but this time you guys were like, we got you. We know those,
That's
those
why.
shoulders are.
That's why he's always
are-
late. That's why he's always late.
Yeah,
He's busy prepping for the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. Super busy prepping, doing his homework,
Yeah,
getting
you
everything
know,
under control.
It feels good just to jump on and knowing the load is off me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's the first time a load's not been on you, huh?
That was literally a underhand pitch softball to you, huh? You piece
Yeah,
of
you
shit.
just lobbed it in there for me. So, round 3, my people. All right, Earthling 7 lands 4 of 23 jabs.
Oof.
Punches lands 5 of 17 jabs. E7 lands 7 of 16 power shots. Punches lands at 6 of 12 power shots. Hold on, move that out of the way. E7 lands 1 significant shot, and punches lands 2 significant shots. Total punches thrown 39 to 29. So again, there's one person that's clearly busier, and that is E7. He's busier, but we don't judge off volume alone. you have to be landing. You'd have to be landing something. So, and again, I'll reiterate for the people who just popped in, I don't have a clear winner of any of these rounds. I really do not. It's very, very tough. The only one that even remotely, and I can't remember which one what it was. There was one of them that was with, one or two punches. I was like, might have been close, but for the most part, I can't pick a clear winner in any of these rounds because it was just so almost every stat, almost every movement, everything was just so close, Like one person would be aggressive, the other person would be aggressive,
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a tougher round. But I think, again, it's going to seem like I continue to like cheer or play favoritism with E7. But again, when I just look at the round, like what is the impression when I'm done watching the round? I think punches is certainly, he's starting to level up and he's certainly matching the aggression. He's pushing more, like he's using his elbow, like he's doing more of those kind of tactics. But again, like when I watched that round, I thought it was closer, but I still had it for E7. I know folks are probably going to disagree with me, but I still had E7 that round.
Oof. Yeah, I'll be the first one to disagree with you because just because you're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I can already tell just from the comments alone that people are just going to disagree with what I have to say.
Yeah,
which is fine.
And again, I think a lot of people get caught up on somebody being busy. You know what I mean?
And, like, that could be me too.
Busy,
that could be me.
Yeah, being busy doesn't win you fights. Damage wins you fights. You know what I mean? Landing punches wins you fights. And I'm be honest, nobody landed any punches really. Nothing of any substance was truly landed in this entire fight, with the exception of each of them had maybe one shot. I think each of them had a right hand that landed pretty solidly.
Yeah. What'd you have, 619?
I mean, I had punches winning that round, but after seeing the stats, I guess E7 won that round, huh?
I mean, does he? Punches had two significant punches, and Earthling 7 only had one, which means punches hit him two times that made the course of the fight change, even slightly, even for that moment. And Earthling 7 only did it once. Not to mention, they're both very close in their stats on who landed what and when. Punches has landed more jabs as far as what he threw, but 4 and 5, and then 7 and 6, and then 1 and 2. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like that's it's so close. This round, extremely close, and it's not even. I don't even think it's the closest round as far as stats go. So
yeah,
hopefully these two got running back as soon as possible, please.
Yeah. Are you guys ready for the fourth round?
Let me just say one thing for a second.
Go ahead.
You know what? I actually just forgot. The plane just took off.
Just like Weddle.
he's not even high.
No. This is called...
what it was is he knew the viewers would tear into that butt right now.
No, but here's the thing, right? Is that I think in the end, when I'm watching this, I'm considering the things that I prioritize in watching the fight and how I dictate who wins. And so when I'm watching aggression, I'm watching the way how this round is playing out, and I still give it to E7. But here's where things change. I think round 4 changes everything for me. And so let's go to round 4.
And on that note.
Yeah, on that note. Bring up round 4.
E7, please nobody tap comments up there while I'm reading it, especially waiting.
That's 619, by the way.
I know it's 619, bro. I'm not.
That's me to piss you off. I do anything to piss you off.
Yeah, I know.
Can you please take that off, please? Can you please take that off? I can't read it, please.
Yeah, that's a perfect white people voice you have there. Okay, E7, 3 of 25 for jabs and punches, 9 of 20. Okay, now you see a significant increase in that jab right there. Power shot, 7 of 14 for E7, and then 4 of 11 for punches. And then E7 has 3 significant shots in this round, and punches has 3 significant shots. So again, E7 did land a little bit more, but when you watch the fight and you take everything else into account, those extra shots, those power shots that he did land were closer body shots, but with no real power. They're not significant shots with the exception of the 3 that he lands, which are.
And so who'd you give that round to?
Again, I had that one even. It's very, very hard for me to give a round to volume of punches. You know what I mean? You're just throwing a bunch of, punches and bunches, but you're not doing any damage. Like, my main thing is damage. Who is touching who cleanly? And again, here, they were pretty much exactly even.
Yeah, for that round, I gave it to punches. Right? I think punches really starts to actually turn it up. You can see his aggression turning up. You can see that, I can't remember what round he took off his shirt, but whenever that happened, like something clicked for him. He said, okay, I don't know if he made the conscious decision that I have to fight more aggressive or I have to be a little bit more dirty to match this intensity to make sure that I, win this fight. But certainly you see it in this round where punches is really starting to push his pace, really start to not only match the pace, but really dig in some of the shots. Again, like it's hard because everything is happening in close quarters. They keep getting tangled up. There's like a lot of pushing and shoving going on. You see that Samke has to intervene multiple times. So things are getting ugly, but I think this is where punch starts to shine and starts to turn the fight over, which I think also goes to his point. The reason why they don't go to another round, because I think the momentum starts to shift towards punches. Go ahead, 619.
I'm with Wedo. This one was razor thin. This was a coin toss. Maybe I'm slightly leaning towards punches because, he was popping that jab a lot more. But, this was just a tough round, especially after seeing the stats. Like razor thin. They both landed, 3 punches? Significant punches?
Yeah, 3 significant shots. Now, and
Yeah.
I lean, like, how I feel about a round is very, very heavily leaning towards significant punches. And the reason why I do that is because significant punches are damage. To me, that's equivalent there. That's where the damage comes from. There's really no
punches.
damage done there. Yeah. And when you see 7 of 14 and 4 of 11, 50% and 36% when it comes to punches is fairly close. But he's got, 3 more power shots that landed. And those 3 more shots are, clinched, punching him, and what they call the rabbit punches. Yes, I count those, but I don't count them as significant shots. So they don't mean anything unless it's overwhelmingly in favor of that person. Like if E7 landed 400 of those, and I'm exaggerating, but if he landed 40 of those and punches landed 2 punches, then it's a huge difference and it does count. But in this instance right here, I don't really count those punches. I look at significant shots.
And I also want to address Hitman right here because he says, I don't think it was a razor thin. Without E7's antics, it wouldn't have been that close. Who knows?
That's very true.
So, even if he didn't use those antics, he probably would have resorted to something else. But because they happened, we can't assume there was going to be they were going to fight differently. We can't assume that there was going to be a different decision. And so we can only base it on what we see.
If you take away all that clinching, wrestling, and dirty pop shots, what do you get then? He's just getting pieced up.
Who knows? Who knows?
No. Are you not watching the show?
We're
putting the stat. We're showing it to you right now. Both of them are not piecing each other up at all, really, to be honest with you. Like, nobody's really doing a whole bunch of damage to anybody. And everybody's getting hung up on E7's antics, but Punches brings his own antics back to it. He literally gets E7 back. And then the 4th and 5th round, they tone it down just a little bit. You know what I mean? Because they know they've gotten in trouble. When Samke puts the dad voice on both of them, individually, they know. They're like, fuck, we're fucking up right now.
When Samke hits him with that Morgan Freeman voice, listen to me.
Exactly. That velvety baritone, he cleans up the whole fight with that bad boy. He really does. And so that's another reason I don't really take those into account too much. Like I pay attention to it, but I don't take it into account too much because they even out in the end, in my opinion. Like Punches got his shots in. He really did.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I gave him the 4th round. I think he certainly takes that. And then Abel, real quick. There's only one person from the desert here. 2 of us are not from the desert. And so, but I give it up to Stockton folks. All right. The 209 is no
I'm from
joke.
Florida, bro.
I've been to Stockton. Stockton is no place to play around with. I've been to Stockton, but I'm from LA. And so, and 619 is from San Diego. I mean, they're a little softer in San Diego, but what I'm saying is, right, like.
Well, it's the tacos. They're physically softer, not mentally softer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's a thing. Don't even tell me.
Always hates my
195
beautiful
soaking wet.
city. You know what I mean? Right now, on 187. 187.
You were 195 last night.
Exactly.
Last night, bro.
I've been fasting for 75 hours.
No, bro. No, absolutely not. So here's the 5th round, gentlemen. All right. E7, 3 of 21 jabs. Punches, 1 of 5. E7, 4 of 14 power shots. Punches, 7 of 18. Earthling, 7. 1 significant shot and punches, 1 significant shot. Total punches thrown for E7 were 35. And total punches thrown for punches was 23. So, again, look at what's landing. And look who's throwing and how much they're throwing. It looks like E7 is giving him the business, but he's not really hitting him any more really than Punches is hitting him. It's very, very
3
even.
of 21.
Yeah, I'll put that back up.
Yeah, although
1 of 5.
E7 is more, again, I think he's aggressive
Active.
in every single round, but Punches, I think he's matching that intensity and he's throwing his shots in. And so, I give it to Punches on that one. I thought he took the last 3. He had the momentum going. And I think had this gone a 6th round, I think there's a possibility that he probably would have took the fight.
It should have went 6 rounds.
And one thing I would like to bring you guys' attention is if you look at their overall, because I have this stat as well, their overall accuracy. Their overall accuracy. So averaged out. So I took every round and I averaged it out. And Punches is at 34% and E7 is at 23%. So Punches was very conservative and composed. E7 was composed sometimes, but he throws a lot of punches. A lot. And it's very easy for people to get wrapped up in that volume. It really is. Because I almost did myself until I really sat and looked at it.
I mean, y'all can make the claim that these stats are wrong, but again, like when we are doing stats, we are literally slowing this thing down.
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah, and so what's a 15-minute fight becomes a 30-minute fight because we're slowing it down.
So long, yeah.
Yes.
When I tell
People don't believe it. Go back and watch your own fight at half speed, quarter speed. It's gonna last like 45 minutes and count every punch.
And then stop and count every punch. Like it takes
every time
almost 2 hours to go through this.
The punch lands, pause, count it as a punch landed.
Yep.
Play, stop. It takes a long time, man.
Yeah, and then sometimes it requires you to kind of to rewind it back. Like there was a few times I had to go, okay, did that land or didn't?
Exactly. Did it land?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll play it in slow motion and it doesn't look like it lands. Frame by frame, doesn't look like it lands. But then you play it, you have to play it again full speed, you have to play it again slow motion speed, because you also have to listen. Like I got to put these headphones in and listen, because you can hear the hits sometimes and you can't see it.
And you see
it's
so
a whole
much
process.
more when you watch a fight in slow mo. It's actually real awesome. Like when I review the Venom Black and Showtime, like you see so much more. Like the reaction when the hit landed. Watching it at regular speed on the TV, you don't catch all that shit.
No.
Yeah, and then sometimes, as you said, sometimes you can catch the reaction of the opponent, and so the person who's receiving the hit, like even if it looks like it's not necessarily like hitting them, but you can see from the reaction that it landed.
The face changed, the reaction changed. They had to reset because it actually did hurt. And watching that regular speed, you don't catch that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's pretty awesome watching fights in slow mo.
And so in the end, in the end of it all, right? Now that we reviewed all 5 rounds, I mean, what do you think? It was announced a draw there, and so what do you think?
I feel like the draw holds, and it holds even better now that I reviewed it. It holds even better for me.
Yeah.
What about you, 619?
I'm not mad calling it a draw because it was so close. And then after seeing the stats, I didn't actually go back and do the stat count with you guys. You guys did it. Just watching it, I trust you guys counted the right punches, right? We didn't count because when I've done fights, I don't count things that land here, here, here. I count punches that land on your face, body, chest.
Yeah, if you'd have showed up on time for our live today, you would have heard me go over all of that.
Exactly.
You did that.
Yeah. We went over it. We went over like how we
okay,
judge.
That's good to know that the foundation I laid for the review
Exactly.
is still going strong. You know what I mean?
That is hilarious. And so when I review it all, exactly. Martin, is that your man? Come on, bro.
No, it's not Martin's man. Martin ain't claiming him.
And so when I review it again, I think it does hold. I think the draw does hold. Although I thought the momentum was in Punch's favor. I think had they go another round,
everybody has said Punch has won this fight,
and so I think it holds. I think the draw does hold. And again, when I look at what is probably the one round that is on or off is always the first round. I think Punches had the momentum early, and E7's game plan kind of, I think, took that away at the end. I mean, just from my perspective. But I think in the end, I think the draw does hold, and as it's been being said in the comments, is that it's going to make for a better fight in the rematch.
Yeah, just the anticipation for the rematch is going to be so fucking dope.
Huge.
Yeah. Have we gotten Samke's? What has Samke said? Did Samke pick a winner? I mean, he was the one with the best seat in the house. You know what I mean?
That is a good addition. I mean, I didn't think to ask Samke.
I thought you guys fucking had this down. Fuck.
I mean, what were you doing the prep session? That's what I'm saying.
Samke's been here the whole fucking time.
In the other group chat, just bullshitting. So have you ever repped? You've never repped before. You've never repped before.
I have.
Yeah, no, you haven't. Nope. Show me the video.
Actually,
it's very hard.
One of the greatest fights ever, and I let those two little fuckers beat the dog shit out of each other. Go back and watch it. The fight. Who was it? Fuck. Who was it? Amazing fucking.
Yeah. Perfect. So who won? Yeah, that's what we thought. That's what we thought.
Yeah, but it was amazing though. It was amazing.
It's hard. It's hard to. Yeah, it's hard to tell who wins when you're reffing them. It's very hard to be standing there looking for who's the winner. Samke's opinion is extremely valid, but it's tough.
Samke, we're waiting, sir.
And this is what he said.
Freedom.
Like if that doesn't clear it up for you, like it's very hard to know. Like he may have the best seat in the house, but he's looking for other things, not who's winning. Like he has a winner.
He just don't want to say it.
Hey, just be like, I mean, we're the bad guys right now. Just join the bat. just join our club.
Yeah. So as we all said, what is it? The draw.
Yeah, you gotta love the kind of NorCal support. The NorCal support is like, it's tough. Like y'all are supporting each other's. Supporting each other.
We don't know where E7's from. You know what I mean?
Oh, we do know.
Nobody.
We do know.
We do. Yeah.
Right.
We're just not letting folks know. We do know. Yeah. Because one of the times he was on our live, there was a statue behind him, and we located where that statue is, and so we know where he's at.
At the very least, we know where he hangs out sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. At the very least.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't help that he doesn't rep the town, the city. You know what I mean?
No, he doesn't.
He don't rep if he's a 14 or a 13. You know what I mean? Like that would help you out. You know what I mean?
So let's jump into the next one.
Lost.
No, I'm just trying to get into the next one before you bore our viewers.
Wait. Has anybody figured out the trivia that I brought up? The first fight to
Yes,
ever be reviewed.
I know the answer, but nobody else has said it because they don't care. They don't care. Like, what do they
what is the
win?
answer?
What do they win?
Let me before I go because I must.
Yeah, what do they win? Yeah, exactly. What do they win?
Yeah, what do they win?
You win one of these, signed by me. I'll send it to your house. You know what I mean? Used
Yeah.
and everything, so you can smell greatness. Anyways, the first fight ever reviewed was by KT and Weddle. And it was me versus Golden Arms, baby.
Oh yes,
Yes.
that wasn't unofficial though. That wasn't official.
It was so much controversy
It
because
was-
everybody that was there.
It was unofficial.
Yes.
But do you know who the
Daniel
first? Do you know who the first official one was?
Yeah, I just said it. Thank you very much.
No, the first official one. We did.
You and
We did that
KT
when as
had punch stats.
you were
for
a
it.
tune-up. I know, but it
Bro,
wasn't official. It was a
don't
tune-up
fight.
for the official one.
Daniel
which was
interviews
Hitman
Wade
and
to
Silas.
ask him. That's cute. Nobody gives a fuck. Daniel interviews Wade because Wade was there and asked Wade,
Mhm.
who won that fight? You were there. And Wade said, I was there. And 619 won that fight. You watch it back. Looks like GA won the fight. But I was there when he popped the jalapeno pepper and it took 6 minutes to stop the bleeding. And 619 thought he won the fight. So, you know what I mean?
And
Anyway, that's some
what
trivia
I
for
would
you.
say, what I would say is, I think 619 has a point to a degree that we were able to build out the skeleton to what we have now from his fight.
Absolutely.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't the official official review that we ever did.
The
But
first
however,
one, yeah.
however, we did build out a lot of the elements because of that fight. Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we decided that just a spreadsheet is not going to cut it. It's just not
Oh
going to
my
cut
god.
it.
Daniel, do you remember the first time this guy tried to do his little Word
Yeah.
Excel? Oh my
Oh,
god.
it was terrible. It was terrible.
Holy shit. It was
Yeah,
so
it was so bad. I
Yeah,
didn't know how else
hit-
to do it, man. It's all trial and error,
texting
homie.
me like, dude, get wet off the screen. Like, he's ruining your show. I'm like, I know, but let's let him. Let's see how far he goes with it. You know?
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
We got it done though. So here's the second fight. Yeah. You know what? 619. Go ahead. Jump out of the studio so we can put that up real quick. So
yeah.
King Jawbreaker and Cataclysmic. Now this is a fight that is, in my opinion, it's a very controversial fight. They both guys believe that it went a certain way. King Jawbreaker was declared the winner of this fight.
Yep.
So again, absolute, like, we cannot take a win away from anybody. That's not what we're here for. We will never take a win away from somebody. At the very most, we can call this a draw. So let's.
We're here to make the winner feel bad about winning. That's what we're here.
You're hilarious. All right, round one.
Round one. So we got King Jawbreaker, 3 of 24 jabs. Cataclysmic, 6 of 9 jabs. Power shots, King Jawbreaker was 8 of 16, and Cataclysmic was 9 of 10. And then significant shots, King Jawbreaker had 0 in the first round, and Cataclysmic had 2 in the first round. Now, just looking at these stats and watching the fight, this is another example for me of somebody being very, very busy, but not doing anything. Not really landing, not really touching his opponent and damaging his opponent. King Jawbreaker threw a lot. He looked really, really good in that first round, but he didn't land a whole bunch. And Cataclysmic's 2 significant shots were jabs. There were jabs that move King Jawbreaker's head. And if you snap somebody's head back or they catch you and your head turns, that's definitely a significant shot. What do you got?
Yeah, I think for this fight, before I even begin to kind of analyze what I saw from the first round, I certainly want to put out a couple of video clips because, again, when I go back to, like, when we're reviewing this fight, we're also trying to figure out, like, how did the judges come to this decision? What did they see that helped them arrive to where they they concluded. And so I want to put up some videos because I think what's important to understand here is that when I see this fight, all those really close, what I also see that is hard to account for numbers is the background, is the people there. And when you actually listen to this fight, even without seeing it, if you just listen to a fight, you can almost hear who has more support there. And so I'm going to give you a couple case scenarios where you see something play out, the crowd makes a noise, and then you see it play out later and it makes the same noise. And so it gives you the impression, oh, this person is winning because of how loud the crowd is going. And that crowd just so happens to be in support of one particular fighter. And so I just want to point that out because when I reviewed it, although I thought this was probably technically the most interesting fight out of all the fights we reviewed, I actually enjoyed this one. And I watched it like many times over.
Same. It was a really, really good fight.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff that it was hard to catch because things were like, I mean, I think the crowd plays such.
These guys are fast.
Yes,
these guys are very,
yeah.
very quick. Like you see, there's one instance, and I hope I'm not going to ruin too much, but there's one instance where Cataclysmic throws a jab and lands it so fast that nobody really knew it happened until it was over. It was very, very fast, and there was several times when King Jawbreaker hit Cataclysmic with combos that were very, very fast, and it was very, very quick before anybody really noticed what was happening.
Yeah, and so what I want to do is show several videos just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. So let me actually put down this comment for a second. So here's the first one.
There you go.
So when you look at that one, right, in real time, it's actually hard to see that uppercut. It happens so fast. But when you slow it down, you see that it actually does touch him. It touches King Jawbreaker's face, and he has to cover up. Right? Another one is this.
Jawbreaker, keep your hand up. So you don't get hooked. He's backing up. Don't get wild though. Don't get wild though. Yeah. Keep your hand up so you don't.
So before, let me just walk y'all through this just for a second. So let me just make the point. You hear the crowd when he lands, and you hear woo, and then later on he actually does land something really significant, and you hear the crowd make the same noise. But when you look at it in slow motion, King Jawbreaker actually doesn't even land the punch. He lands it on the shoulder. He lands it on the shoulder.
Any of those punches,
and then you hear the crowd go woo. And then when a strike that he does land, you hear the crowd go, woo. And so in your mind, when you're a judge, you hear those two loud noises and you think, oh, two significant strikes happened. Right? So that taints your perception on the way that you're watching this when you're there in person. And so that's one of the things I really want to point out. So I'm going to play it again and be mindful of the noise. I want you to hear it when he lands. It lands on the shoulder. And then later on, he lands in the face, and you hear the same kind of noise.
yeah.
Jawbreaker, keep your hand up. So you don't get hooked. He's backing up. Don't get wild though. Don't get wild though. Yeah. Keep your hand up so you don't.
So that's the point that I just really want to point out is you see it land on the shoulder, but you hear people cheering as if he landed in the face.
Yeah.
And then when you also take into account the defense, he's blocking a lot of the shots with his shoulder, right? He's rolling with the punches. He's using his elbows and parrying to block shots. And so, yes, the crowd is cheering as if it landed, but in reality, he actually blocks the shot.
Yeah. Punches right here.
Well, I think we had
To
three
be honest-
videos, three fights, and so I think it's a bit harder to do that kind of thing. But we did this just to drive home a point. But go ahead, Weddle.
Yeah, there's a very specific point that we needed. Like, we don't have, I don't think we have any more videos for any of those fights, correct? Yeah.
No.
Because there was a very, very specific point that we needed to drive home for this. The other fights, there were very specific points that we could talk about. We didn't have to show because they're blatant points and they're supported by the stats.
Yeah.
What we're trying to get across here is you hear a lot of cheering for one specific fighter, King Jawbreaker in particular, and it sounds like, when you're a judge, that he's landing things he's not, because it looks like he is, because they're very fast. And again, you have a guy that are barely missing their opponents.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Hitman. So he intentionally hits the arms on purpose. Yes, we get that, but he didn't do that intentionally. Right? When you look at King Jawbreaker, he's actually aiming for him, and you see that leans back.
moves.
He
Yeah.
moves. He moves, and with the shoulder blocks it. So I think that is the difference that we're pointing out here.
Yeah. Like, and for everybody who's saying that he doesn't hit him, those two jabs that he throws, they didn't land. But when he threw that cross, if somebody throws a cross like that and he punches him in the shoulder, I counted that, because technically that's a clean body shot. It was a solid hit. Okay, he rolled with it and he kind of checked it, but it's still a shot that I count as far as a punch.
Yeah.
Because it does land. It's not a significant shot,
Yes.
but it does land, and it's counted in the punches.
Yeah, but when you hear the crowd, you think it's a significant punch, and I think that's the point that we're trying to drive home, is that the crowd actually taints the way the judges see things oftentimes by how many supporters they have, right? And so again, it was clear, like every time he landed, King Jawbreaker, every time he landed, that there was a lot of noise that went behind it. And so for us, when we took that into account when we broke down this fight, it's like, okay, who's actually landing here?
Yes, exactly.
And so for round one, who'd you score?
I scored round one for Cataclysmic.
I did too.
Yeah, and let's put those stats up there again real quick so everybody can see them.
And it's important to note here as well is that King Jawbreaker, he punches and bunches. And so when he's throwing out his jab, it actually he follows with a straight. He does a jab. Sometimes he triples his jab. Sometimes he does a double jab. Then he throws a straight. But he doesn't, in most cases, he doesn't just throw a single punch. And so it comes in bunches. As a result, you see that he throws more than his opponent does all the time.
He does every single time. Let's see, where are we at? All right, round two. Here we go. Okay, so we have King Jawbreaker 3 of 20 for jabs, and Cataclysmic 5 of 8 jabs. King Jawbreaker 10 of 11 power shots, and Cataclysmic 2 of 4 power shots. And then King Jawbreaker had 1 significant shot, and Cataclysmic had 2 significant shots. And these shots, again, were jabs. And then total punches, 44 for round 2 for King Jawbreaker, and total punches, 19 for Cataclysmic. So this was a fascinating round for me.
Yeah.
This is very fascinating because, again, I didn't want to get caught up in the volume of punches that King Jawbreaker was throwing, because it's very, very easy to get caught up and go, oh, he's obviously winning because he's throwing more punches and he's landing more punches. But he is not necessarily doing a whole bunch of damage. But when it comes to his power shots, you guys look at these power shots. His power shots, 10 of 11, he's 91% on that. And it shows Cataclysmic was popping jab off, but he wasn't following it up and he wasn't landing anything. But King Jawbreaker was. He kind of ditched his jab because in the first round he threw a lot of jabs and had no success because Cataclysmic has phenomenal head movement. So he ditched that a little bit and just started landing power shots. Quite a few of them to the body. So I counted those because he legitimately changed his game plan for that round.
And so you gave it to King Jawbreaker?
Yes, I gave this one to King Jawbreaker. I edged him out on this one. Yep.
Yeah, this one was again tough. I had to watch this fight so many times, and every single time I felt like my decision was changing. It was changing every single time. So it was not like it was clear that, oh, this person clearly won. And so originally I thought King Jawbreaker won round one, but then when I reviewed it so many times, I was like, no, I don't think he won that. And round two, when I reviewed it, I still have it for a cataclysmic. I still have it for round 1 and 2. And I think he lands just cleaner shots. I think in the end, he just lands, even though he doesn't land as much, but the ones he does throw, they land.
Yeah, they do. He's very, very accurate, and he's very composed. He doesn't throw wild shots.
No. And so I gave it to him just because when I look at, well, who had the more lasting shot, like at the end of the round, I'm like, okay, who got the better of whom? I thought he did. I thought he did for that round.
And as far as this whole fight goes right here, it's a very, very close one for me as well.
Yeah.
But that round 1, I just have to give it to Cataclysmic because he showed out. In round 2, King Jawbreaker adjusted. That was big. And I think, and the number of power shots that he landed were important in my mind.
Yeah, and I thought King Jawbreaker did a really good job of like applying aggression, and so he was certainly applying aggression. He was trying to trap him. You can see he was always moving forward, and so what made him an easier target to counter, right? Because he's pushing the fight, he's throwing multiple punches at once, and so as a result, sometimes you leave yourself open when you're doing that, and Cataclysmic was able to kind of take advantage of it. And that's the reason why I gave it to him for that one. But what about round 3?
So let's take a look at round 3 right here. Round 3 is another fascinating round. We got King Jawbreaker with 6 of 27 jabs. He was real busy in this round. And Cataclysmic 3 of 4. He only threw 4 jabs, but when he threw a jab, it landed. And then I have King Jawbreaker at 4 of 18 power shots, and Cataclysmic at 1 of 8. So he threw 8 shots, or seven power shots that didn't land. King Jawbreaker made him miss quite a bit in that round as far as power shots goes. And then 55 overall punches from King Jawbreaker and 16 overall punches from Cataclysmic. So for me, this round, if I absolutely 100% have to pick somebody, I got to go with damage and Cataclysmic. But it is so close because he did, like, King Jawbreaker again adjusted and started popping that jab off a little bit more. And he controlled the fight, the pace of the fight with his jab in that round. He may not have landed a lot, but he controlled it. So it's very, very, very close for me. It's very close for me.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was really hard to kind of, I think in its totality, it was really difficult to kind of judge who won.
Very.
But I think in the end, I think this particular fight should be overturned to a draw.
I think so as well. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And we have already talked to Martin and Alex about it before we go live with these results, and that is the official decision from them. This fight's going to be pushed to a draw. So King Jawbreaker will have a win, and Cataclysmic will have a win.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, not taking away from King Jawbreaker, I think he did a really good job of like applying the pressure, which he did. Mm-hmm. But again, I think he was a victim to a lot of these counters that I thought landed really clean. Mm-hmm. And so he threw a lot more punches. Yes, he was the busier fighter, but when you look at the impact, like, that is the first criteria for me to judge any fight. Look at the impact. I'm like, oh yeah, it was clear Cataclysmic had a more impact with the zingers that he would throw like one or twice a round. Like, he didn't throw many, but when he did throw those, you can see like King Jawbreaker's face move. Yeah, and it wasn't like it like bounced off the glove; it like moved him. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple times like he nodded, like, "Yeah, you got me."
Yeah, he sticks him with a jab right in his face one time, and that's the one I was talking about. I want to say that was a second round. I think it was the second round. He caught him in the face so fast with that jab that like he punches and then he throws his hand up, but he sees it coming, but it's just so fast. There's nothing he can do about it. It's very, very, very quick. Like Cataclysmic is fast.
Yeah, I think I have them.
So that's 6. He's waiting for it. He can't get in. He's waiting for it.
Right there.
See that?
Yep.
Right there.
That's
right there.
super fast. That's
Super
very,
fast,
very fast.
and really impactful. Right, you
Yeah,
see his
that's a
entire
significant
face move. And I don't think you see any of that when King Jawbreaker lands. You don't see any of that happening to the opponent. That's all I'm.
No.
And so to me, as a result, like I give that a draw. I think both men should deserve a win, and we just move forward.
Yeah, nobody deserves to lose that fight specifically. And I think that's important to note. As far as did anybody dominate the other fighter? Absolutely not.
No.
But nobody deserves to lose that fight for sure.
No. All right, cool. And so with that, we have that one is going to be called a draw. So that is the official decision. That's going to be a draw. Both men will get a win on the record. So I think both men win.
Yeah, I like that. Next, we have Smoke'em and Black Flash. This was a really fun fight. Like, this was a fun fight. Like, Cataclysmic and King Jawbreaker was my favorite fight to watch and break down because of how fast they both are, how Cataclysmic slipped those punches in there, how King Jawbreaker controlled the fight with his jab. But Smoke'em and Black Flash is an extremely fun fight to watch. A very fun fight to watch because they both look like they had fun, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was like when you look at every single round, it was a tale of two fights or two stories, because you'll see that this is the pattern throughout the entire fight. Smoke'em comes out hot, Black Flash controls it on the tail end of the fight. Happens through every single fight, and so I think yeah, exactly. And so in the end, it's like, well, then I think sometimes it kind of boils down to like what is the impactful strike, but also like taste for yourself. Like, what do you like more? What kind of style do you like more?
Yes, that's style came into this.
Yes,
I believe. Very
absolutely.
much so. So we're gonna put these. There's some fascinating stats from this fight. So Black Flash 2 of 13 jabs, and then Smoke'em throws 0 jabs in the first round. Not a single jab was thrown. It was all power shots.
Isn't that the case for every round?
Yes. So we'll throw those up there since you mentioned that real quick. Every single round. That's probably my favorite stat of any fight is he just balls to the wall, hooks and crosses. He was not fucking around with no jabs. He did not have time for jabs. So yeah, he throws 0 jabs. 5 of 9 for Black Flash for power shots. 2 of 23 for Smoke'em for power shots. Now,
hey, who's Smoke'em's trainer? Golden Arms?
For those who've seen the fight, he's referring to because he comes out
Golden Arms doesn't throw jabs. He's thrown he's thrown like 3 jabs in 12 fights. He's thrown like 3 jabs, and those were on accident. He didn't even mean to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not a big jabber. But
No.
So leaving that up there, I mean, you look at these guys, 22 overall punches, 23 overall punches. Black Flash does land quite a few more power shots.
Yeah, when I look at this fight, of course, when I will back out as soon as he makes that comment. When I look at that fight, I thought early on Smoke'em was winning the fight. But then halfway through the fight, what you see is Black Flash make the adjustment. He actually slows down the pace. Maybe it wasn't that he slows down the pace, but what he starts to do is he starts to throw to the body. He starts to throw to the body. He starts to throw this. So he starts to slow down the momentum of the fight. And in the end, you see that Black Flash is actually getting the better of the exchanges at the end of the round. And so for me, I thought round 1, Black Flash won that one.
Same. I have Black Flash for round 1 as well. Because he did, it's very clear. He landed. He was a little bit more composed. He threw his jab out there. He has a 1-2 combo that he launches into you. He puts everything he has into that 1-2, and if he misses, which he did quite a few, he just wraps you up and then waits for the break. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Flash certainly started to time him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So, round 2, we have, let's see, Black Flash, 1 of 7 jabs lands. Now, this is where you see a bit of a change up, too.
Yep.
Smoke him again, 0 jabs, which I love. That's the best. 2 of 7 for power shots, and then 1 of 15 for smoke him for power shots. Sorry, that 2 of 7 is for Black Flash. And then 1 of 15 for smoke him for power shots. And then 14 punches were thrown, and then 15 punches were thrown. This is when Smoke'em started realizing that he could slip those punches. Like, he really kept himself from getting hit fairly decently starting in this round.
I agree. I think Smoke'em makes the adjustment. And I think, when I even look at that fight, like statistically, like it's in favor for Black Flash. But again, I think Smoke'em starts to apply more pressure. Like, he pins him against the gate. Yes, he's not landing anything significantly, but he's certainly making Black Flash run from side to side because Smoke'em is applying the pressure. And so in that round, like when I think about, because what happens is that also Black Flash starts to do what he did in the first round. He starts to try to time him towards the end, starts to slow down the pace with his jab, but he does it too late in the fight for me. And so I give that to Smoke'em. I think Smoke'em came off early. He was able to take off early, and as a result, I think Black Flash didn't have enough time to kind of come back from that. And so I gave that to Smoke'em. It was razor thin that second round, but I gave it to Smoke'em.
I have that round as a draw. If you look right here, the total number of punches are the exact same, and only 1 punch was landed, 2 punches was landed, and then 1 jab was landed. So he landed 1 more punch, and neither one of them had any significant shots. There was nothing that rocked the other one. There was nothing that tried the other one in any way. This is a super fun fight to watch, but there was no major damage going on in any way in that round.
Yeah, and I think like Scorpio was saying that Flash was certainly trying to, in a lot of ways, like when he was like dancing, be flashy, but like kicking up the dirt when he was dancing and stuff. Yeah. Certainly, he is drawing attention to himself. Like, yeah, I'm winning,
yes.
And so that's a way to taint perception. But like, I just thought that he started to apply or be effective later in the round. I just thought that Smoke'em was already built the momentum already. He was already too far ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So round 3, what we have?
Round 3. So Black Flash, 0 of 2 jabs landed, and Smoke'em again with 0 jabs. 2 of 10 power shots landed, and Smoke'em had 3 of 11 power shots landed. And then this is a fascinating. This is what I really liked. In this round right here, 3 significant shots landed. 1 by Black Flash, and he had a left cross to his face. And Smoke'em had 2 crosses to Black Flash's face. And one of them was a very, very significant shot. Like, stumbled him. It didn't stumble, he didn't chicken leg or anything, but it popped him back a little bit. And then another one, it hit him here and rolled up to his neck. It was significant. But again, it didn't stumble him, but it was definitely significant. It knocked him back a little bit as well. Like, he had 2 very, very critical shots. And that's why this round I give to Smoke'em. So I have the first round of Black Flash, the second round as just dead even, and the third round goes to Smoke'em.
I agree with you. I have Smoke'em for the third round. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. And so, but when I think about the totality of the fight, I thought Smoke'em won. I thought Smoke'em won 2-1. Yeah. However, I can see why folks would call it a draw, because again, there's a tell of two stories. I can't think of the idiom, the tell of two tapes. I don't even know what it's called. Anyways, it's like the tell of 2 stories or whatever in the fight. There's always Smoke'em coming on aggression early, and there's Black Flash trying to control the fight with his jab later on. But again, so when I think about how we should judge this fight, I think they originally gave it to Black Flash. I think it should be reversed, and it should be a draw.
I think so too. And again, we've cleared that. We've talked to Martin and Alex, and that's what's going to happen. So Smokem gets a win on his record. Again, we're not taking anything away from fighters. What we don't want, and I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, we're fed up with the draw stuff. Draws aren't bad. Okay, everybody's got to understand draws aren't bad. If you want to win a fight decisively, then go out and decisively win a fight. If it comes to the judges, there's going to be a chance that you get a draw because we're almost always going to err on the side of a draw because it's a hobby for us.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to put in all that work to show up to do a good job and lose a fight. You know what I mean? And we're not getting paid for this. So for the most part, every branch errs towards the draw. But we will absolutely do our best to go through the extra length and give you a reason why we feel that way, at least. Put some numbers on the board,
Yeah. And so with that, so when we look at all 3 fights, and so let me just put that back up. Just so for those who are just tuning in now, so we reviewed all these 3 fights, and apparently there's another fight that needs to be reviewed as well. And so I think folks are saying that card was the card of reviews, because there was a 4th fight that we didn't get to, but certainly I think at a later time we will. But when we go back at the 3 fights we did review, Punches versus E7, I think with both of us, we agreed that the draw was the right decision and should make for a better rematch. King Jawbreaker versus Cataclysmic. We also the King Jawbreaker was a winner, but we said it should have been a draw. Well, we said we make it a draw so that both men get it.
Yeah, we don't want to say it should have been.
Yes.
Because it's very, very hard to tell when you're there. So we're not criticizing the judges by any means. I'm not. I don't know if Daniel is. Daniel, are you criticizing the judges?
No, but I think you and I have different winners in this. And so, and so to me, I think as a result, we both agree that both men didn't lose. And so it's like, all right, well, let's just make sure that both men get a win on the record. And then Smokem versus Black Flash, I think you and I both agree in this that we didn't believe that Smokem lost either. And so, and there was a lot of style clashing that was happening within this fight that we wanted to consider. And so it looks like everyone on this board gets a win. And so in Oprah Winfrey style, you get a win, you get a win, you get a win, and you get a win.
Exactly. All of us. Everybody get them.
Everyone gets one.
This question right here. When are we getting another wheelchair match? I do not know. I was a guest when it comes to the wheelchair match. I probably won't do one again, but maybe. I think March we're having a big event out here at the Hot Box, and I believe Hell on Wheels is going to be out here. So March maybe, but not me. We do have a fight. We do have a fighter in mind. We're looking for another wheelchair boxer to fight Hell on Wheels, but barring that, we have somebody in mind that Hell on Wheels picked himself that he wants to tune up personally.
Yeah, there we go. Before we conclude the show, any news? Any updates?
Nothing too crazy. Locked In will be back soon. We're taking a couple breaks. We've been very, very busy with a lot of stuff. So Locked In will be back soon. Weddle the Mexican will be back. Definitely sub to Heart in the Fight and follow the Instagram account. Every day Daniel is cooking something up, and it's always dope to see.
Yeah.
So keep your eye out for Heat Index as well. And
for those who don't know what Heat Index is, it's an all-day fight tournament.
Yeah, it's a one-day fight tournament.
Yep.
And the next one, I give you a little spoiler for the next one. The first one, we started out with 8 fighters, but we ended up only having 7. This time we have about 16 fighters locked in. So that's all the information we're going. Not going to tell anybody when it is. When we drop the promo, you'll see who's in it. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Follow Heart in the Fight to see that promo.
Yes. And I think last note is that if you are on Twitter or if you're on Instagram, hit up Ariel Hawani. I don't know if anyone saw that. Ariel Hawani had an interview with Anderson Silva and Jake Paul to promote their fight that's happening tomorrow. And at one point in time, there, you want to get in part of that discussion? I see that. Okay. And so at one point in time, Jake Paul actually brings up Street Beefs. He says, because they have both been awarded like some plot of land, and I think it was in Scotland. And then at one point it was like, oh, the rematch will happen. And then Jake Paul said, oh yeah, I can't wait for the rematch to happen. We'll do it like Street Beefs in the backyard. And then Ariel Hawani says, oh, we're high class. We don't do that. Right. And so what does that imply? That implies that everyone who participates, everyone who enjoys Street Beefs is low class. Right. And when you look
now,
at
hey, sorry,
ahead.
that doesn't mean get grimy with the man. Like, don't prove his point. Okay, don't jump on there being douchebags, but definitely show him that we are a little classy. I know 619 is not going to do that. He's an exception. There's a couple other exceptions out there, but overall, like it hurts to hear that. But don't prove his point by being a douchebag. You know what I mean? Prove his point with, just show him that we are a classy organization of bottom of the barrel fighters.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, 619? When you heard that,
when I saw that clip, I was like, man, Kanye. You know what I mean? I mean, here he has been saying. Oh, all right.
No.
Nah, man. I love all of you guys, but I mean, come on. We know there's levels to this shit. Like, take the best Street Beast fighter and put him balls deep in the pro circuit. Like, come on, people. Like, we know where we stand.
But to me, it's the word choice, right? This idea of like high class and low class.
Yo,
like
yeah, that's irritating.
Making the distinction. And to me, it's like when you think of high class and low class, you're thinking about the quality of something, right? Mm-hmm. So, like if you go on Twitter, hit them up, let them know, like, hey, man, when you look at all the fighters here, yes, we're not professional fighters. There's no professional fighters in the circuit. However, when you start to degrade us as low class, like you're saying that you're looking down upon these people. Like we should all look down upon these people. And I think that's the part that's a little bit nerving. Is it unnerving? Anyways, the part that I think makes me upset about it is that he has a huge platform, and those who don't know what Street Beefs is, you hear Jake Paul say Street Beefs, and everyone's like, oh, let me check that out. And then all of a sudden, Ariel Hawani follows that up with, no, we're high class. I think that says, like that demeans the product, but also demeans the people.
What says more about Ariel Hawani than it does about us, to be honest with you?
Yeah, this is also a guy who's never fought a day in his life in anything. You know what I mean? Just a journalist, which says I love Ariel Hawani, but this isn't the first time he shoots down Street Beefs on his show. Somebody asked him one time, do you watch Street Beefs? And he's like, no, absolutely not. Why would I watch it? You know what I mean? Like,
wait, how does he sound again?
Somebody asked him because he answers questions every episode, every podcast. He'll answer questions. So somebody says, hey, do you watch Street Beefs? And he said, yeah, close I know. Why would I watch Street Beefs? Me.
That's how it sounds, guys. Yeah,
it's Ariel Hawani, in case you don't know. Which takes me back to Kanye. You know what I mean? No support there, huh? Wow, you guys bring your backs on Ye too? Damn.
No, I've never really been a fan or not a fan. I don't really care.
I'm riding with Kanye to the wheels fall off, baby. Kanye, fucking Andrew Tate, Trump. Let's fucking go, baby. We're going to Rumble, baby.
Somebody kick this dude out. Daniel, you're muted. You're muted. There you go, buddy.
Okay. You can hear me? Okay, cool.
God, you scared me. You can't just leave me silent treatment with weather. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna go in on you, not just playing. And so, so any platform you use, certainly hit up Ariel Hawani. Let them know that, hey, man, these are real people, and we do it not only because we want some of us want to make it pro, but a lot of folks who participate, It's because this is a family. This is a community. We do it because it helps support our mental health, our physical health. And so why degrade a I don't want to say program, but a club that promotes health, that promotes friendships, that promotes family. And so when he does that, I just think that folks really got to respond and make him apologize for his remarks, make him acknowledge that, hey, actually my perception about Street Beefs is absolutely wrong. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And as long as we legitimately stay classy when we're bringing up our concerns, I think we can.
Yeah.
So if you whatever you see 619 do, you guys do the opposite of that, and we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Yep.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he's gonna go out on a limb. He can.
Let's try to invite this fucking nerd to one of our events. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I did. I messaged them on Instagram. I'll let you guys know when he gets back to me.
Yeah. You know, you've messaged about 1,300 celebrities, and they don't even open.
I've had a couple of them reply, but most of them don't even reply. A couple of them like the comments, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even get the scene. Get the scene or
I know.
Messenger where it's like the icon drops. You don't even get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like,
No.
okay. But yes, Jay.
I'm currently chopping it up with Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? We're doing big things over here. You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully he comes on the show.
You guys
Well,
started a donut shop or something?
but again, appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, support the brand, support Heart in the Fight wherever you're. Also support Wedo, support 619, support all the fighters. I mean, we do this for, we're a community that supports each other. And so this is what it looks like to support each other, to show up for each other. And then with that said, tomorrow, just to the last thing I think we should bring up, there might be a live stream. There might be a live stream that will be hosted.
It might be. We don't know yet.
We're hoping for a live stream, man. You know, those are so fucking entertaining with the commentary, and we're watching the fights together. There's so much fun. We're trying to get that going.
Yeah, so that will be hosted by 619, Wedo. Who else is on the beat? Prince KT.
Island Strong, Diesel, high out of his fucking mind. Yeah.
So there's gonna be a number of folks on there. So if you want to tune in, make sure you get notified. I'm not sure if subscribe to the channel so you get notified if we do go live. Just in case we do go live.
Check the channel tomorrow at 10 a.m.
A Spanish
live stream at 10 a.m. That's us, and we're on, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what kind of accent I have, but I don't think it's Spanish. And to answer your question, here it is. Wait, hold on, there it is. Yeah. Jake Paul would knock 619 the fuck out.
I mean, he would be the first one to knock me out.
Yeah, and legitimately, that's true. Because Venom Black beat the shit out of you for like 30 minutes and didn't knock you out. So, I mean,
Venom Black has pillow hands. You know what I mean? We ate those shits. You know what I mean?
That's not what it looked like.
Yeah,
We turned your
like that.
head into a bobblehead, bro. We turned it into a bobblehead, snapping your shit back.
Not once in my
seconds.
head was I thinking I should take a knee or I should quit. Not once. You know what I mean?
I don't think you're smart enough to think those things.
Man, just the balls in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My balls are so
big ass nuts.
fucking big. Like
Big.
It wouldn't allow me to
Like a
quit.
dump
you
truck.
know?
Dump truck nuts.
Yeah.
Dump truck in the
All
front
of
and the back.
alpha semen. You know?
All right, y'all. Well, we appreciate the time. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining and being part of the preview process. And for everyone else, make sure you dig deep and double down your own commitments to your life. Keep your heart in the fight. Peace.
And let's go.